Yo, how's it going, everybody? So in today's video, I wanted to do a recommendation from this YouTube comment right here. He wanted to know how can we use CSV data and display it within a bar graph. Now I figured this video would help a lot of people out just to display data using a CSV in really any sort of chart. But since we have an example, and that's what we're going to do today, by the end of the tutorial, I will have made this right here. So basically, this is a data set that I got online. Which basically contains all of the ages for Oscar winners from a certain year. So 1928, for example, was somebody who's 44 years old. And this person right here, 76. I don't know who won that, but I'm not going to say anything else. And so that's pretty much about it. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I'm going to assume that you already have a little bit of React knowledge and you already have a React app made. If you don't have one, just go ahead and make one using npx create React app. And the first thing we need to do is we need to install a couple of dependencies for this to work. So we're going to do npm I. The first one is going to be something to parse our CSV data so we can actually extrapolate everything out of it. So we're going to do PapaParse. After that, we need to install ReactJS 2. -2. And finally, we need to install chart.js. And that's all the dependencies we need. So ReactJS 2 and ChartJS need to go together to be able to configure it properly, at least the newer version of ChartJS, and PapaParse, like I said earlier, will be used to extrapolate the data. And this is our CSV right here. It's just a simple headers index associated to the numbers, the year of the Oscar date, the age of the winner, the name, and the movie. And the link to this is in the description down below where I found this. Alrighty, so the first thing that we're going to do is we need to import all of the dependencies and all the packages that we need. So the first one is just our CSV data. After that, we're importing Papa from PapaParse. After that, we're importing useEffect and useState to save the state and also run useEffect to be able to run our set chart data function. After that, we are going to import a bar chart from ReactJS 2, and we need to import these specific things from ChartJS the way that this is imported, because if we don't do it like this, then the chart doesn't properly register, and it won't actually work, at least in the current version of ChartJS. Alright, so the way that we're going to register the chart is pretty simple. So underneath our imports, what I'm going to do is ChartJS.register. And inside of these curly braces, what we're going to do is add all of these individual things. You just plop them in there, and that's it. That's all you need to worry about. So now we've registered the chart. And next, let's go ahead and create our use state functions for our data and our chart options. So I'm going to do const chart data, set chart data is equal to use state. And let's make this as an object. Inside of here, we'll give it something called data sets as an array block, like so. Perfect. And finally, we need to do our options. So I'll do const chart options and set chart options. Perfect. And use state. And this is just going to be an empty object. Perfect. Alright, so the way that this is going to work is it's primarily all going to run through our useEffect function. So I'm going to create a useEffect, and I'm going to add some empty array blocks like so. So the first thing we need to do is we need to parse through our PapaParse. We need to parse through our CSV using PapaParse. So I'm going to use papa.parse, and inside of here we're going to give it our actual CSV data. So I called it Oscar data. You can do a URL if you wanted, but we're just going to do the import like so. Perfect. And then we're going to do an object. And inside of here, we need to give it some props that are mandatory to be able to individualize each item as an object instead of how PapaParse defaultly gives it to as an array. So what we have to do is we need to download, set that to be true. Then we'll do header, set that to be true as well. Dynamic typing, we're going to set that to be true. Delimiter, we're going to set that as an empty quotes, like so. Perfect. And complete. Complete. And what we want to do is we're going to create a function. So I'll do result. And instead of here, let's just go and console log our result, and hopefully we see that our result comes back as an array of objects. So if I go into my inspect tool and I open this bad boy up, let me go ahead and make this bigger, zoom in a ton. Let's click on this, and now we have our data, and it's all extrapolated within individual objects, and that's exactly what we want. Alright, so the way that we have the CSV data is a little funky. We can see that we have quotes, and then we have this weird little space, and then we have no space here. It's weird. I'm not going to try to change it because I think it's a pretty good learning tool as well. We can figure out how we can target proper indices that have weird titles like this. So let's go ahead and do the next thing, which is going to be setting our chart data. So what I'm going to do is set chart data, and inside of here I'm going to give it an object, and firstly we need to give it labels. Now this labels is going to be result dot data dot map, and we're going to do item and index. We're not going to use the index, but it's good to have. And inside of an array block, we're going to give it item, and inside of another array block, we're going to do single quotes, space, double quotes, year, double quotes, without a space, and then at the very end right here, we're going to do filter, and then string. Now, okay, let me just explain what this basically means. So we're looping through each of these items in this array of objects, and we're selecting all of the years. So this is how the year is right here. And sometimes at the very end of the list, you might get null or undefined. This is where the dot filter comes in. So it basically checks, hey, it's the year, like, is it even a string? If it's not a string, it's going to cut it out of the array. So these are the type of solution that you'd have to come up with if you are parsing through CSV data. So now let's go ahead and talk about our data sets. So the data sets are going to be pretty similar. So I'm going to do comma, and instead of here I'm going to do data sets like so as an array block, and inside of here we're going to give it an object, and this object, oopsie doopsies, we're going to give it a label, and the individual label I'm just going to call it Oscar winner, and we'll do data. So the data for this is going to be pretty similar to our labels. So we're going to do result.data.map, item, index, and then we're going to do the same thing, item. However, this time we want to get the actual age of the person. So we're going to do single quotes, space, double quotes, age, without a space, double quotes, and then we're going to do dot filter, and we're going to check if it's a number. So the same rule applies here. So it's basically, if it's null or undefined at the end of the list, don't even bother looping through that portion. And after that, we'll just give it a border color. Let's do black, and we'll do background color, and let's set that as let's do red, black and red. Pretty cool colors. Awesome. Alright, so the next thing we want to talk about is setting the chart options, which is mandatory. So underneath my set chart data use state right here, I'm going to do set chart options like so, and instead of an object I'm going to go ahead and do responsive, and we'll set that to be true. Responsive, I just want to double check the spelling. Then we'll do plugins as an object. Instead of here we'll give it legend, same thing, plugin, and then we'll do position to be top. Perfect. And then we're going to give it a title, so the title for the actual chart, display, set that to be true, and the title, we'll just call it text, we'll call it all Oscar winners since, I think it's 1928, yes, I'm a goddamn genius. 1928, perfect. And then at the very bottom, okay, we already added the array. Perfect, that's about all we need to do. So now let's go ahead and actually render this bad boy. Alright, so the rendering is going to be a ternary operator. I figured that that's the easiest way to do it. So underneath my homepage title, what I'm going to do I'm going to do curly braces, and I'm going to check if chart data dot datasets dot length is greater than 0, and if it is, we're just going to do a div, and if it's not, we're going to do again another div, but the end div right here, we'll just give it something like loading dot dot dot, so we know that there's some sort of message and it's not just like empty. So what we're going to do is inside of the first true statement, if it's greater than 0, we'll do bar with a self-closing brace, like so, since we already imported it from ReactJS 2. We'll give it options of chart options, if it's going to find it. I guess I'll just manually put it, and data of chart data. And now if we save it, it should all work beautiful. We can see that we have our Oscar winners right there. So really quickly, what we did here was we took data from a CSV file, extrapolated it using PapaParse, and then we made a chart out of that bad boy. And you can see right here that we actually have all of these values filled in, so there's no undefined or null, and that's perfect. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any more recommendations for videos you'd like to see, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. I always respond to every single comment. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Take it easy, bro.